Welcome to Staying Connected, a podcast where I talk to people about their stories with VEDS, Marfan, Loeys-Dietz, and related vascular and aortic connective tissue conditions. The views, information, and opinions in this podcast are those of the individuals involved, and the information presented does not constitute medical or other professional advice or services. Welcome back. Today, we're going to talk to Claudia Arbelaez, who was diagnosed with Vascular Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, or VEDS, in 2020 after a kidney infarction and vascular rupture. A couple years after her diagnosis, she also had a colon rupture and then a reversal for the bag. Heads up, in this episode, we will talk in detail about Claudia's experience with the kidney infarction, internal bleed, and colon rupture. Before we jump into the interview, if you like this podcast and want to support our community and our efforts to raise awareness through this show, you can buy merch in my Printify pop-up store, make a one-time donation to support the show, or support the show by joining my Patreon. This show wouldn't be possible without the continued support of my Patreon subscribers and donors, so if you've already been supporting the show, thank you. Check out the episode show notes for ways to support the show. Let's get into the interview with Claudia. Hey, Claudia, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast to share your story with Vascular Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, or VEDS. Do you want to introduce yourself to everybody who doesn't know you?
Hi, how are you? So my name is Claudia. I'm 37 years old, and I've been diagnosed for 5 years with vascular Ehlers-Danlos.
So you got diagnosed at 32?
No, I was diagnosed when I was 33, and I'm going to be 38.
Okay.
Yes, so 5 years. It was in 2020.
Okay.
It's almost 5 years.
That's a hard year to get diagnosed.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So how did that come about?
So I started to feel like ever since I was like a child, I was very fragile. Like every time I fall on the floor, I always had like a huge cut on my skin everywhere. So my family, like my mom, my dad, they always thought like I was just fragile. Then I dislocated my shoulders. I had a surgery on my shoulder. And I remember one doctor saying, like, I think you have something that is genetic because why you've been just dislocating your shoulder sleeping? Because that's how I started dislocating my shoulder. So, but it was nothing like nobody actually paid attention to it. But then that year when I was diagnosed, I started to work like a lot. Like I was working a lot, and I started to feel like weak, tired all the time. And something that I don't know how to explain it, but something that I felt like it was very unusual was like I felt like my body was vibrating. Like my whole body was vibrating. I went to a doctor a few times. They did like blood work and everything, and they said, no, you're fine. Maybe stress, maybe, I don't know, anxiety. Every time I went to emergency room, actually, they say it was anxiety. So no answer, but my body was just weak and like this feeling of vibration. To be honest, like my body was telling me something. It was just like a feeling.
Yeah.
And then a few weeks after, it was on a Sunday morning, I was taking a shower. I woke up tired that day, the same thing, like tired, weak and everything. But I said, you know what, it's just Sunday, I'm just going to go for a walk. My boyfriend was here. And I woke up that Sunday morning and I was taking a shower and I felt this sharp, horrible pain on my right side. I just don't remember anything. I'm just 5 minutes away from a hospital, so my boyfriend took me to a hospital. I remember I was yelling, screaming. They gave me morphine. So the pain wasn't under control, but it was better. So then they said that I had a kidney infarct. So I was in the emergency room with the kidney infarct. They were giving me just pain medications.
That's a bad pain.
Horrible pain. Like the morphine, it made the pain better, but not completely. Like it was, I was feeling the pain the whole time. So then one doctor came to me and she said, listen, you had a kidney infarct, but for some reason you have a lot of inflammation in your vessels, like everywhere, like 3 or 4. I don't remember which one it was, to be honest. So then they kept me at the hospital that day. And then they keep giving me just medication for the pain, and they were giving me blood thinners. So I think that's what made it worse, because they didn't know I had a vascular condition. So they came me at the hospital. The pain didn't get better that much. The doctors keep coming and they're saying, I don't understand why your pain is not getting better. We already give you medication, the blood thinners. And they say I have vasculitis, something like that. So it was already 1 week. That was all my diagnosed vasculitis. I don't know how you say that word. Vasculitis. And they said that was my diagnosis. So it was on a Sunday. Now again, so 1 week already at the hospital, and they say, oh, we're going to send you home tomorrow, Monday. Pain medication, blood thinners, the pain is going to get better with time. And that day when they said, we're going to send you home, like my mom went home, everybody went home because she's going to go home the next day. The pain came back, but it was like 10 times worse. This pain was now all over my stomach. It was all over. So they didn't know what to do anymore. They brought me to a CAT scan. But I remember the guy at the CAT scan saying, listen, I'm not going to be able to do it. She's in so much pain. You have to give her something stronger for pain. I don't know. I guess they gave me more morphine. I was like half sleeping now, and I just remember being on the ambulance going to another hospital. So I went to another hospital, Yale Hospital, here in Connecticut, which is a very good hospital. And I got to a hospital. The vascular doctor wasn't there. So they came me at the hospital that night. They said, the vascular doctor is coming tomorrow because it was on Sunday. We're going to give you medication for the pain, the same thing. But I got worse. And I just remember now screaming, yelling. And I just remember doctors coming to the room, and that's it. So then I woke up the next day. I mean, not that I woke up because I wasn't intubated and everything, but I just remember that I was in the ICU, right?
Yeah.
And they were saying, you had a surgery, you had internal bleeding. We kept your stomach open because all your organs inside were so inflamed, we couldn't close them. So I was like 24 hours with my stomach open. But I wasn't intubated. I remembered everything they were saying.
Yeah. So was it your kidney that was bleeding, or?
No, so the kidney was the first thing. But like I say, so for some reason, when I had the kidney infarct, all my body started to react. So I guess a lot of inflammation was all over. And one of the vessels ruptured.
Okay.
So I was having internal bleeding. They didn't know, and they just kept giving me the blood thinners. So it was making the bleeding worse and the pain worse. So they called the vascular doctor because he was on an emergency. So he came to a hospital on that Sunday, like 3 a.m. And then he opened my stomach and everything. And he said like I was bleeding and he couldn't stop the bleeding. Like, like everybody say that, like when they had everything is so fragile.
Yeah.
So I remember he explained to me like he couldn't stop the bleeding. So he started just to pack everything, to pack, because he didn't know what to do anymore. He thought I was like gonna die because he said it was like 50-50 because he never saw somebody so fragile inside. Like what people always say to us, that we're so fragile inside. So they closed my stomach the next day. They didn't really knew what happened. They just say you had a kidney infarct, maybe your body was reacting. They kept giving me the medication. I was getting better. Didn't understand. Like nobody knew like why this happened to her. But then when they opened my stomach, they also opened like on my leg. You know the artery under your leg, the
iliac or femoral?
The femoral. Yeah, they kind of like open it there. I don't know why, the reason why when they open your stomach, they have to cut there too. So that cut started to open. They started to open. I showed the vascular doctor and he says, okay, we're just going to put the vacuum. So to close, because it's going to close. It was just like, it wasn't closing with the stitches. So he said, it's okay, we're just going to put the vacuum. It's going to close with time. A lot of people have the vacuum at the hospital at this point. So it's very safe. So I said, okay. So they sent me to the floor now. I was getting better and everything. It happened the same thing. It was on a Sunday. They say, you're going to go home on Monday. My mom goes home. My boyfriend goes home. And the hospital was 45 minutes away from my house. So everybody goes home. I said, okay, I'm going to go home tomorrow with the vacuum still get better, but I was okay. So I remember calling the nurse and asking her to bring me to a bathroom because I needed to go to a bathroom. And I remember she helped me to go to a bathroom, and I felt this pressure on the vacuum. So I saw the vacuum, and I was bleeding again through the vacuum. And I just remember her calling nurses and doctors and everything. I don't remember anything. I guess they put me to sleep. So I woke up in the ICU again. I remember seeing my mom looking like very like sad, like what's going on? We don't know what's going on. And I just remember, so I didn't have the vacuum anymore. Now I don't have the vacuum. And I just remember a few hours later, now I felt the same pressure, but I don't have no vacuum. So I just remember seeing so much blood coming, so much like I was bleeding and bleeding. The nurses kept holding until the vascular doctor was coming because they called the doctors again. I was bleeding again. So they were holding, I was bleeding. I thought, my God, I'm going to die. Like, that's it. For a second, I said, that's it. I'm going to die. And then I remember now waking up the next day, now intubated again. And they told me that my artery ruptured, and they had to put a artery graft.
So that was your femoral artery where they had the access point?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the access point. Yeah, that's how they call it. So, and that's when the doctor said, listen, I'm going to do a genetic test and think you have vascular Ehlers-Danlos. I guess with everything that was happening, he kind of knew. But I guess the first time they don't know. But then when everything kept happening, they kind of figured it out, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then I remember they did like the genetic test, like an emergency genetic test. They say it takes a few months. And then it was done like in 3 days. They gave me the results that I had the vascular Ehlers-Danlos. And I was at the hospital for another 2 months after that. Because that's when COVID, so that was all in February. And that's when they closed hospitals and everything. I mean, not hospital, they closed down everything. So I had to stay at the hospital like 2 more months by myself because nobody was allowed to be at the hospital. So it was, like I was diagnosed by myself at the hospital and then reading every day vascular Ehlers-Danlos, thinking that, say, I'm done, I'm going to die, that's it.
Yeah. Had you ever heard of vascular Ehlers-Danlos syndrome before?
Never. Not even the Ehlers-Danlos.
Yeah. So when you were reading about it, like, did you see yourself in the criteria and stuff?
Then when I read everything and all the symptoms and everything, what happened to people, I say, oh my God. Since I was a child, I had so many symptoms of this condition, but I'm from Colombia, so my country, like the health is not very good. So it was hard. So every time I dislocated my shoulder or I opened my skin, they were like, oh, she's just fragile. But to be honest, when I read a lot of stories, I said, oh my God, I was lucky because, I dislocated my shoulders, but I had the surgery. I opened my skin, but it wasn't, like I have a very nice childhood. Very nice. I did everything. I exercised so much. I used to lift a lot of weights. I used to lift like 200 pounds on my legs.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know how I didn't rupture anything from that exercise. Yeah. But I was like a normal person, to be honest. Just felt different because my skin, like I say, my knees and my fingers, they're different. So I always say to myself, why my fingers and my knees and my legs are so skinny,
Yeah.
So I always felt a little bit different from people. But when I read about vascular Ehlers-Danlos and I saw the people and the features and everything, oh my God, they just like me.
Yeah. Did your family members get tested?
Yeah. So my mom got tested. She was negative. My dad got tested. He was negative.
Okay.
And my daughter got tested. Thank God she was negative. And actually, when I was going to test my daughter, I remember the vascular doctor that he diagnosed me. So he said to me right away that my daughter didn't have it because he saw her and he was like, she doesn't have it. I don't know. The way she looks, yeah. I guess the fingers, the legs, the face, he knew right away. He said, she doesn't have it. He said, I'm pretty sure she doesn't have it, just to be said, just have her test. Thank God she was negative.
Yeah. So what are some of the things you mentioned your fingers and your knees and your shoulder dislocating. What are some of the other features that you have or had it?
So it's like my fingers are very skinny and they look old. ever since I was like a teenager. I remember my fingers, my hands, they look like old people's hands. My knees, you can see like my bones, like the bones of the knees, like they right there. And like my legs are very skinny compared to my body. Like my body's, and then my legs. I'm like, oh my God. But I was exercising so much to one point that my legs got like, okay. But then after everything that happened, I remember I got very skinny and then I see my body more.
So you're Colombian descent, right?
Yes.
So do you have the translucent skin or the facial features? Just curious.
My like you can see my veins all over my body, or my legs, or my chest. My chest, my legs. You can see my veins. Yeah. On my face, I don't know. And when I was little, I remember my sister telling me that my eyes were very big. And they used to bully me. I have 4 brothers and 1 sister. And they used to bully me. They said like I have such a big eyes. Like my eyes were like big. But they say I don't have them anymore. I don't know why I don't have them that big anymore. But when I look at pictures of myself when I was little, and you see people with vascular Ehlers-Danlos, you see it right away. You see it right away. I don't know. By the time that you get older, I don't see it that much.
Maybe you grow into your eyes.
Yes, maybe. I don't know. And then, but when I see pictures of people and myself, I mean, maybe my face not that much because I don't know. But if you see my body, like knees and my hands, you know right away.
Yeah. So how long? So you ended up being in the hospital for a couple months, right? How did you? So you said that you were kind of like seeing vascular Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and reading about it and like coping with this information in a hospital by yourself during a pandemic. Like, how did you move forward from that?
So I was at the hospital reading everything about the vascular Ehlers-Danlos, and I was telling my doctor like I was feeling a lot of anxiety because of the condition. It's like, listen, don't read everything that is on internet. What is on the internet is just about the people that they know. It's a lot of people they don't know about that condition. It's a lot of people that die of the condition and they never knew why they died. So just don't read that. I remember they started to give me some anxiety medication. I was seeing some psychologists at the hospital. They sent me home. Now I was home with all these scars, like open cuts everywhere on my leg, on my stomach. I started to feel a lot of, like, very depressed. I think, like, for a year, I felt so depressed because everything that happened, and, like, for the first year, I felt like that was it. Like, I was going to die soon. Back then, my daughter was 7 years old. So I said to myself, my God, I have a small daughter. What she's going to do, I'm going to die soon because everything that happened to me, maybe it's just something that is not going to get better. It's going to keep on happening. So I said to myself, everything that happened just at once, maybe it's just going to keep on happening. So I started to see a doctor. I started to have so many appointments with a vascular doctor, genetic doctor, the cardiologist, all this information, and you just go crazy. Like, your mind is like, I'm just going to die. I'm so young. I'm not going to do everything that I was planning to do, my future, everything. Exercising, I couldn't exercise anymore the way I was exercising, not like lifting weights, nothing like that. For me, it's still being a struggle about like the medication because something that it helped me a lot is when I started, the social media. Mm-hmm. So I remember like going on the Facebook, Instagram, and the first person I find of this condition, because my sister sent me her Instagram, was Bella. So that's how I got in contact with her mom. Good. And so they introduced me to the Facebook page. And you kind of start feeling a little bit better because you feel like, okay, wait, I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
I'm not the only one. So that made me feel a little bit better. Like knowing people had the condition, knowing people survive all the things that they survived, like people strong. And I say, okay, it's not that bad.
So that was like a year into, how soon?
So that was a year after I was diagnosed. Okay. Like that year, like that whole year, because of COVID, everything, it was just, a mess. And then I just remember now, started to have the appointments. Then I found the Facebook page, the Instagram for people that have the Ehlers-Danlos. So all this information like kind of make me feel a little bit better. Still, you never feel 100% better, but a little bit better. And then I was having all this information about the beta blockers that it was good for us. And then I went to so many doctors here, like cardiologists. Nobody wanted to give me the beta blockers because they say, you don't have high blood pressure. We cannot give it to you. So it was a lot of struggle. Can you believe I just started my beta blockers a few months ago?
Wow, several years after your diagnosis.
After 4 years and almost 5 years, I just started because I went to the I think it was you the one to tell me to email the VEDS movement.
Yeah, the VEDS movement Help and Resource Center.
Yes. So I sent them an email and they looked for a doctor around here and then they sent me to Yale Hospital. It was funny. The doctor was at Yale Hospital when everything that happened. So he prescribed me the beta blockers that I just started. They make me very tired. And I'm just in 25. So I don't know.
I feel that.
So I got into the beta blockers and then I guess you might kind of feel like, okay, I'm in a beta blockers. Everybody knows I have the Vascular Ehlers-Danlos. I have my bracelet, emergency bracelet. I live only 5 minutes away. I'm only 5 minutes away from the hospital, which they know. So I was the only one in that hospital with Vascular Ehlers-Danlos. So when that happened, I remember a doctor calling me if I could give them permission to share my story. So like to tell all the nurses and doctors, just in case for me in the future or for another people that come to the hospital and they have the same symptoms, so they know. So Greenwich Hospital, that's the name of the hospital, they already know. And then Yale Hospital, which when everything happened is like 45 minutes away. So something that happens to me a lot is like I'm afraid to travel because I'm afraid to be away from my, like place that I feel more safe. So I feel safe. I'm home, not so much away from that hospital that is only 45 minutes away. So if I go and something that I very feel depressed a lot is because I say to myself, I don't want to go to Colombia anymore because I'm scared. Mm. So 2 years ago, I went to Colombia and I started to feel like this pain on my stomach. And I went to a hospital then, and it's very sad. I explained to the doctor everything. The doctors they were very nice. But I remember this doctor telling me, listen, for you to get a CAT scan here, you have to be dying. They don't do a CAT scan just like that. Even if they know I have this condition. So she said to me, if I was you, I would give you some relaxed medication. They did blood work just to make sure it was nothing I would give you just some medication so you can relax, pain medication, just get in that flight and just go back.
Dang.
And that's what I did. It wasn't nothing bad, thank God. But that's something that I'm limited to go to my country to visit my family because I'm scared. Yeah. The health there is not very good. So that happened. I was okay for 1 year and a half, and then my colon ruptured. I had the back for 6 months, and I had the reversal.
How did the reversal go?
It went very well, to be honest.
Yeah.
You know what? When I got the colon rupture, that was something that I think a lot of us are afraid, right? Because I see a lot of people on Facebook, a lot of people saying that they had the colon rupture. And when you start knowing the condition and you start reading, it's like something that you are very afraid. It's like, oh my God, I don't want to get my colon ruptured, like a lot of people do. And of course, it happens to me. To be honest, it wasn't that bad. I got used to it. I went to places where a lot of people had the bags. Every time I went to the doctor to check and everything, I saw people with the bags. And it's something that you just get used to it. And I'm very proud of myself, how strong we become after we diagnose and everything that happens. Every time something happens to us, we're very strong. And I guess our mind and our body, they get so strong. We go through things, and it's not like the first time. It's not like the first time.
Yeah, you build up a certain resilience to medical trauma.
Exactly. Yeah. So I got the back, 6 months. They did the reversal. So when they did the reversal, they did it in 2 steps. So they put the back, and then first reversal, they connected my intestine with the rectum, and then they left my small intestine with the back, because they wanted to heal first before connected the whole thing, because they said they were afraid it was going to rupture again.
Yeah.
Because the colon is more fragile than the small intestine.
So did you have a bag for both, or did they give you a bag for the small intestine?
For both. So I had the first bag for the big intestine for 3 months, and then for the small intestine for 3 months, which is the one that is 24 hours. Like it's just water coming out 24 hours. I said to myself, I can get used to the first bag, because the first bag is just 2 times a day. You go to a bathroom, you change it, that's it. But the second one is like, won't stop at all. It's 24 hours. And that's the one that made me realize, oh my God, if I ever ended up with the back, I just want to have the first one. I don't want to have the second one. So that was in 2022. So it was been 2 years since I had the reversal. I get scared a lot that it happens again, because it can happen again. But it's been okay. I mean, I try to take the Miralax every day. Like not a strict diet, but I try to avoid a lot of things that make my stomach get constipated. But ever since then, I've been okay so far. Like I've been having some obstructions after the reversal, maybe 2-3 times. But they just came in on a diet, liquid diet, and then it was okay.
So were you taking the Miralax before your colon ruptured?
No.
Okay. Just curious.
So I always had constipation, always. But you don't pay attention to constipation that much. I mean, you're not aware that constipation can be something very bad, because not only people with vascular Ehlers-Danlos can rupture their intestine, like a lot of people can rupture their intestine. So I never pay attention on my constipation so much. I remember that year, that December, that Christmas, I was in Colombia. And I remember that Christmas eating so much in Colombia, having so much constipation, didn't pay attention because I didn't know. And then it was in January when I came back. Thank God I was already back. And that's when my colon ruptured. So after that, it's like when I was more conscious about, okay, now I have to take care of everything.
There's so much to take care of with VEDS, and it's just, it can be overwhelming. Yeah.
Yes. And sometimes you feel like you're taking a break, because you feel like, okay, everything is okay. And then you get pain somewhere, and then everything again is like, oh my God, I hope it's nothing serious. So the first few months, I remember Kate going to the hospital, I think every week. They already knew who I was at the emergency room. And I felt like, oh my God, they don't want to. And you know what? A couple of times, I was never rude to the doctors on anything, but a couple of times I was now getting frustrated with the doctors because they didn't understand. And it's like, they don't know. And I'm like, this is something serious.
So it was right after your VEDS diagnosis, the first few months?
Yes, the first year, like I said, everything, all the information and everything, healing and everything, it was I don't even remember, just remember healing. The second year, when I got the colon rupture, that's when I said to myself, oh my God, this is the second thing that happens to me serious. Now I'm scared it's going to keep on happening every 2 years, every year.
Yeah.
So that year, after my colon rupture, I kept going to a hospital a lot because I was having now pain everywhere, on my stomach, on my back. They kept doing the CAT scans. And they say it was maybe because of all the surgeries I have on my stomach. They say maybe a lot of scars inside, scar tissue. So I remember my vascular doctor, he told me, every time you get a pain that you feel is the first time, that's when you say something is going on. A pain that it won't go away. It's just a sharp pain that it just won't go away. That's something that you have to worry. But a pain that you say to yourself, okay, this is just pain. Let's wait a few minutes. Just take some medication if it helps. And that's when you know it's just your body. Because we get pain all the time for no reason.
Yeah. It's almost like you wonder if there's little micro things happening, right? Like little micro tears or, just something that you feel, but it's so small and it goes away. And then, like our body's so prone to these kinds of things. Like there has to be very, very small levels of that happening all the time.
Yes. Because I feel like a lot of pains, like they just come out of nowhere. Like I'm just sleeping, I just feel like this pain. And then it will go away. I'm like, oh my God, please. Because sometimes I get these pains that they go away right away, but I say to myself, if they last a little bit more longer, I've got to emergency room because it's like a sharp pains.
It's scary. I mean, so it's super scary living with VEDS. It's been a few years since your diagnosis, and I guess a couple of years now since your colon rupture, right? Yeah?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What's been the most helpful thing for you in moving forward, like with life?
Yeah. So it was it took a few years for me to understand that I already have this. It's nothing I can do. Right now, there is no cure. At least right now, like my whole family knows, people around me, they know. If I go to the hospital, they know what to do. So for me, it's like, I say to myself, okay, I have my daughter. Because a lot of times I was just sleeping all the time. I just wanted to take naps all the time. I didn't want to exercise anymore. I didn't want to go out anymore. So I said to myself, you know what? Let's just live day by day like it's the last day. And that's been helping me a lot. So every day, I say to myself, this can be my last day. So that helps me a lot. I say to myself, if I think about today is my last day, I just enjoy the day and I not overwhelm my head thinking I'm going to die soon. Something that still affects me a lot, to be honest, is just the fact knowing that I can die. I still have a daughter that is still small. So it's something that affects me the most. Is like, okay, if I die, she's not going to have a mom. She's going to be, alone. Not alone because she has her father and like my family, but without a mom. So that's something that I think, even if I try so hard, it's something that is always going to be in my mind. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes people tell you all the time, oh, you have to be strong. A lot of people have cancer. A lot of people have other condition. People don't understand that is not only having the condition that you can die at any time. It's just your condition telling you every day I'm here.
Yeah.
Because every day, like I get like headaches every day. I'm tired every day. My muscles, my bones, like everything hurts every day. Sometimes I don't pay attention too much to it, but it's there.
Yeah.
But I think what helps me the most is that thinking that it could be my last day and being very close to my family and just taking care of myself. Like I say, like knowing that everybody knows my condition and I can just go to it. Something that it helps me a lot, to be honest, is like I have the hospital 5 minutes away. Mm-hmm. If something happens, I'm 5 minutes away. So
yeah, and that's like it goes into that kind of like, I mean, if you're happier there and you're afraid to travel, it's just not a lot of incentive to travel away, right? I very much can relate to that. Since my last event, I've had a hard time with travel. But, there's just so much relatability here. Like I think about the bruises that pop up everywhere for me.
I don't know where, like
every time, like it used to be just a bruise. But now it's like VEDS reminding me that like, hey, look what I can do to your body that you're living in. And it's just like, it's a hard reminder frequently.
And you know what, something to me that happened, like, I think it's been happening for the past 10 years that my knee just pops out and comes in. And I dislocated my knee like 4 or 5 times already.
Yeah.
So now it pops out and comes. I don't know. They say I sprained my knee, but I feel like it's dislocation because I felt it comes out and in. So every time that I walk, I feel sometimes it's going to pop out. I'm like, oh my God. Now walking, I have to think about I have to just be so careful that I'm walking and I'm going to dislocate my knee.
I kind of think it's maybe a misconception, and it might not be a misconception, but it just might not be. The more people that have been diagnosed, I think that if we did research again on these kinds of symptoms, that it'd probably be more apparent. Like maybe, I guess what I'm trying to say is that maybe the research that is currently published only scratches the surface. I mean, what I'm getting at is the hypermobility piece. Like I think that it has resulted in this misconception that people with VEDS only have hypermobility in their hands, or the small joints, that it's only there. But I've heard you and others talk about, hypermobility in your knee, like your knee dislocating, your shoulder dislocating while you're sleeping. Is that...
Oh, I didn't know that people with VEDS only, it was the small joints.
Yeah, I think it's a misconception because it's like one of the identifiers could be like hypermobility, usually in the small joints. And I've heard it talked about like people with VEDS don't usually have more extensive hypermobility, but so many people that I talk to do. Like do you have it in like all of your joints, or like what would you...
So yes, because I dislocated my shoulder, then my knees, and you know what, to be honest, sometimes I feel like my hip, my hips, they feel like, not they're gonna dislocate, but they feel out of where, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they feel like there's something there. So I'm look up. That's the only thing I don't want that to happen to me, please. No. Dislocated. I don't even want to imagine that.
Yeah.
But that's a good thing. That, you know what? But it's something good also because we already know everything that can happen. So we take care so much of ourselves. Like, okay, I'm not supposed to run. I can run it all. You know what? I can run it all. When I'm going in my bed, I have to just be so careful. When I'm driving, like everything that I do, I have to be so gentle. But you get used to, I guess.
Yeah, knowing is hard, but it's also a gift.
But it helps, you know.
What would you say to somebody who is going through what you went through when you were diagnosed, or with your bowel perforation?
You know what? I would say that it's going to be okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if you think like that you're not going to be able to handle it, it's just very crazy how your body and your mind works. That one day you wake up and it's like, you know what? I'm okay. Time heals, you heal, and it helps you to be like, you know what? I'm okay. I went through this. It was hard and everything, but I'm here. And you know what? If a lot of people like you, me, we went through this and we are okay, so they can be okay too. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times at the beginning when I was diagnosed, I'm like, I was seeing people, a lot of people that I follow on Facebook, going on trips, going on vacation. And I said to myself, how do they do this with this condition? Of course, because my mind back then, I was still processing everything, so I was not there yet. And I said, oh my God. But now that I'm there, because I already processed everything, I'm ready for everything that comes, and I feel a little bit better, not 100%, but a little bit better. I said to myself, oh, now I understand. The people, they already went through this, but they accept, and like I say, it's nothing we can do anymore. We have this, and we just have to go with it.
Yeah, you like do what you can.
It's not easy, and you know what? We can say a lot of times, say, no, we're strong, we can do this and everything. But of course, a lot of times, like a lot of days I wake up with all these pains in my body and I say, today I don't want to do anything. I just want to sleep. I just want to watch a movie. I just want to take pain medication and just stay home.
Yeah, and it's okay.
And it's okay.
Yeah, you kind of, I think you said earlier, like you roll with the punches, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Exactly. But I'm very happy now. Like every time, it's crazy like how it's only been almost 5 years since I was diagnosed, but I noticed on Facebook like how much it's been growing. And it's like, oh my God, a lot of people are being diagnosed. This is like a lot of people knows about this. It's a lot of people that are getting older with this condition, that they survive, all, especially this, which is the most dangerous things for us, the aortic.
The aortic dissections.
That. And I see a lot of people that survive to that, and it's like, oh my God. So it feels good to know that it's like we're growing and it's a lot of people that are relating to us and like a family.
Yeah, it is like a family.
Like a family. I was going to say I haven't met nobody in person yet because I've never been on the walks and everything, but I just very happy to do it one day and just meet a lot of people. And like I never met a person in person with my same condition and looking their hands in person. And it's, oh my God, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're in Connecticut?
Yes, I live in Connecticut.
We'll find someone close to you.
And I always say to myself, I want to meet somebody, just have coffee with someone that goes through the same thing.
Yeah.
Just take a nap and like, oh my God, we do the same. You know what I'm saying?
If you're out there listening to this episode and you're within driving distance of Connecticut and you have vascular EDS, reach out to me and I will connect you with Claudia. Or find Claudia on Facebook, right? Yeah.
Yes.
If a doctor or a medical student was listening to this episode and you wanted them to take one thing away from your story to carry with them through their medical careers or know more about VEDS, what would that be?
I would say to listen to the patients. Because I remember, I said the first few weeks before I was my kidney fire, I went to a hospital a lot of times saying to my doctor, I feel weak. I feel like my body's vibrating. I don't feel okay. Just not do the regular blood work. Could just go a little bit more. Because if a patient comes, and say, I don't feel okay, and they do blood work and everything is okay, they keep saying, I don't feel okay. It's something there. It's just, you're not just listen to a patient, just go a little bit more forward on what is the basic things for patient. Because I say to myself, if these doctors will listen to me then when I say I don't feel right, my body's vibrating, maybe do more deep tests and everything, maybe not 100%, but something that probably will see that my vessels already were inflamed. Because what my doctor told me, he said to me, I don't think they were inflamed because of your kidney fire. I think they were a little bit inflamed, but the kidney fire made them more inflamed and made them rupture.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So if they knew, they would do another kind of test. I don't know what, but like something else, probably.
Yeah. I like that advice to do more. It's kind of like, don't let go of it if something doesn't feel right to the patient, right? Like you don't let go of it.
Yes, exactly. What happens to I guess to us a lot. You just don't feel yourself, and if something is going on, and nobody understands, and then these horrible things happen. It's like, there it is. But like my body was telling me something was going on. And of course, I remember when I was feeling like that, I was working a lot because I have a cleaning company. So I was putting so much pressure on myself and not feeling okay. And I guess that made my body, of course, overreact more. And that's what happened. So I feel like when your body tells you something, just listen to your body. And I didn't listen to my body so much, but I did listen because I went to the hospital. But I did not listen because I kept working hard. I kept ignoring it.
Yeah.
Something that my vascular doctor here advised to me, it was that when you overstress, when you overthink, when you're thinking so much, your body gets inflamed. Mm-hmm. And that something that can affect us a lot. So it's something that I have to work on myself, is like not thinking so much about everything. Because I think about so much everything, and that affects also our condition. Because your mind is connected to your body, everything is just right there. And you send these messages to your body, something is going to happen and this is too much, and that's when your body starts reacting. That's a little advice I also give, that I would give to people with our condition, is just deep breathing every time. You know what I'm saying? Maybe, what helps me a lot? Meditation. Meditation has helped me a lot. I do meditation a lot, and it helps my mind a little bit, relax. I know, of course, we cannot relax 100%, but like just a little bit.
Yeah.
Meditation. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing your story. And I really, really hope that we can get you hooked up with somebody in the, I guess, Northeast area of
Yes,
the United States to meet. Yeah. Thank you so much, Claudia.
And thank you so much for inviting me, and I appreciate everything you have done, because you have done a lot. And thank you again.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to this episode featuring Claudia Arbelaez sharing her story with Vascular Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, or VEDS. If you're ready to meet others, get involved, or need support, there are links for you in the episode show notes, as well as information on research studies for people with VEDS, Marfan, and Loeys-Dietz, including those with the VUS. If you like this show, be sure to share it on social media or give it a rating or review. You can also support the production of this podcast by joining my Patreon, making a one-time donation, or by buying merch. As always, my top tier patrons are listed in the episode show notes, and you can find these ways to support the show in the episode show notes as well. In the next episode, we'll talk with Ryan Rodarmer about his experience with aortic dissection and his role as director of the VEDS movement. See you soon!